Hello everyone, I am Akhil. My topic is what are the applications of MySQL. Before diving into the topic, let me give you an overview of what actually SQL, MySQL and the differences between DBMS and Rdbms are like. SQL stands for Structured Query Language, which is used for accessing and manipulating databases. SQL has become a standard of the American National Standards Institute, that is ANSI, in the year 1986, and also International Organization for Standardization ISO in the year 1987. Now coming to what actually SQL can do. SQL can do perform various operations like they can execute queries against a database, they can retrieve data from a database, they can insert records, create records, delete database, create views. They can also set permissions on tables, procedures, views, etc. Now coming to what actually MySQL is like. MySQL is a very popular open source relational database management system. That is, MySQL is a open source, that is it is completely free for anyone can work on it. Now MySQL is ideal for both small and larger applications. That is, whatever the quantity or whatever the quality of your applications might be, you can obviously work on MySQL with no problems. MySQL is cross platform or platform independent. That is, whatever the operating system or whatever the system requirements you are working, it doesn't matter, you can actually work on SQL very comfortably. The main uses of MySQL are like, MySQL is very fast, reliable, scalable and easy to use. That is, it is very beginner friendly. MySQL is compliant with the standards of ANSI SQL standard. MySQL was first released in the year 1995. Later MySQL was acquired by Sun Microsystems in the year 2008. Later Sun Microsystem was in turn acquired by Oracle Corporation in the year 2010. Now at present MySQL is developed, distributed and supported as well as maintained by Oracle Corporation. Now who uses MySQL? Many huge websites like Facebook, Twitter, Airbnb, Booking.com, Uber, GitHub, YouTube, etc. And many systems like content management systems like WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, Contact, etc. As well as a very large number, that is voluminous people use of web developers around the world use MySQL. Now coming to a differentiation between DBMS and Rdbms. DBMS means database management system, whereas Rdbms means relational database management system. Relational database management is nothing but is just an extension of DBMS, which is an updated version of DBMS. DBMS applications are stored as data, that is in DBMS applications data is stored as a file, whereas in Rdbms applications the data is stored in the form of a table, that is tabular form of data is available. DBMS is generally stored in either a hierarchical form or navigational form, but coming to Rdbms, it is stored in the form of tables with the help of primary and foreign keys. Normalization is not present in DBMS, whereas normalization is present in Rdbms. DBMS does not apply any security with regards to data manipulation. That is, DBMS will not deal with any kind of security, or of course, if possible, it only deals with a single layer security, whereas Rdbms deals with multi-layer security. That is, the system that the databases which are developed with Rdbms are completely encrypted with following the properties of ACID property, that is atomicity, consistency, isolation, durability, etc. DBMS uses file systems to store data, so there will be no relation between tables. So you cannot actually find the relation between the tables in the database because there has been no relation between the tables. But whereas coming to Rdbms, as data in Rdbms is stored in the form of tables, we can actually get that or relate the data between the table. DBMS has to provide some uniform methods to access stored information, whereas Rdbms system supports a tabular structure in order to access the stored information. DBMS does not support distributed databases, whereas Rdbms support distributed databases. That is, you can work with various databases with the help when the data is stored in the form of Rdbms. DBMS is meant to be held only with the small applications, whereas Rdbms can handle large amount of data and also multiple users can work on it. Now coming to the examples of DBMS are like file system XML, that is extensible markup language. Coming to the examples of MySQL, Rdbms, the examples are MySQL, PostgreSQL, SQL, Oracle, etc. Okay, now coming to our original topic. So what are the applications of MySQL? Applications of MySQL can span to from everywhere to everywhere. Like now we'll discuss the most important applications of MySQL. They are like TurboDB admin. It is a free web-based Ajax application that helps you to manage, edit, explore MySQL as well as PostgreSQL databases. That is, you can actually export the database into downloadable files which you can keep as a backup when you need to store database. And the second application of MySQL is Ems Sql Manager for MySQL. Ems Sql Manager for MySQL is a first rate of graphical interface tools for MySQL database administration and as well as development. Ems SQL management for MySQL comes in two versions. First one is a full version which is not free. That is, you have to pay some amount for that, but that is very low cost. And the second one is light version, but the light version is not up to the mark. That is, there are not much features in light version when compared to the full version. Third one is MySQL GUI tools. MySQL GUI tools, GUI in the sense graphical user interface. MySQL GUI tool is a bundle of graphical user interface tools that includes MySQL Administrator 1.2, MySQL Query Browser 1.2 and MySQL Migration Tool 1.1. MySQL Administrator is a GUI for managing database. That is, you can actually manage the database and also optimize the features. You can backup and restore the databases once when there are any corruptions in the files. For fourth applications of MySQL is Instant SQL Formatter. Instant SQL Formatter is a web-based application that beautifies your SQL code. That is, whenever you perform an SQL code or SQL queries are performed, you can actually beautify how it is appear to the users. It's not strictly as MySQL database tool, as it supports other databases such as MySQL and Oracle. Now, the fifth application of MySQL is DB Designer 4. DB Designer 4 is another excellent visual database editor for MySQL. DB Designer 4 is an open source project released under GNPU GPL license, which is available for all the major operating systems like Unix, Windows OS as well as Mac OS. It has two modes. The first one is a design mode, which is used for visualizing and also creating and maintaining database, and the second mode is query mode, which lets the developers build complex SQL queries for use with PHP or other scripting languages. Now let's discuss some of the functions which are used by the MySQL for performing its applications. The applications that which I am going to explain you as they are all inbuilt applications. That is, these all functions are inbuilt in the MySQL itself. Now first one is MySQL aggregate functions. Some of the MySQL aggregate functions are average, count, min, max, sum. Average is used to find the average of all the record which are stored in the database, and count is find out the how many records are stored. Min is to find out the minimum value in the record, and max is to find the maximum record, and sum is to find the what are the summation of all the records. Coming to MySQL Math function, ABS is used to find the absolute value of a given value. Ceil is used to obtain the value to the higher values. That is, if I give you a value of 2.3, the Ceil value it will be 3. And next one is floor value. That is, if I given the value of 2.3, the floor value will be 2. And mod is nothing but we have to get the remainder of something. That is, if 25 is divided by 5, the mod value, that is the remainder, will be 0. And then coming to the last one, this is truncating, that you can actually truncate the values up to a particular decimal software. Then coming to MySQL other functions, the first one is last insert ID. We use this particular inbuilt function in order to get the last insert ID, that is the last ID which we have inserted into the database. And the second one is a casting, and this is used to cast the data types from one data type to the other data type. And MySQL date and time functions. Day is used to find which day the day. Week is used to find the present week. Month is used to find the present month. Year is used to find the present year. Coming to the now inbuilt function, now gives us the present year, month, day and also date. MySQL comparison functions are coalesce functions. Coalesce functions are the functions which gives you the first non-null value which is recorded in the database. And largest and least are used to find the largest and least value in a database record. isNull function is used to find if any record is null or not. If the record is null, the isNull function returns true or else it returns false. MySQL string functions. MySQL string functions are as follows. Concat, which is used to concatenate two strings. Replace, which is used to replace the strings. Substring, which is used to substitute a string. That is, we have to, whenever we can actually get the only some particular string. That is, if let us use something like Andhra University, we can actually get the substring there. Substring can be like Andhra as well as University. Substring is used to get is used to break the is actually used to break the string. Trim is used to actually used to trim a string, and length is used to find the length of a given string. Suppose let me give you an word like world. World, the length of world is 5 characters. That it just gives you the length of a world. Now coming to the advantages and disadvantages of MySQL. First of all, following the advantages, we come here as MySQL is more secure as it consists of solid data security. Like what we have discussed in the previous session, it's like it is protected with a multi-layer security. That is, that data is completely encrypted. Intruders as well as hackers cannot do anything with the data stored in the MySQL, because in MySQL uses the Rdbms, which is very highly secure. MySQL is a relational database management system. It stores present data in the form of tables organized in rows and columns. MySQL is compatible with most of the operating systems, like what we have discussed in the previous session. MySQL is cross-platform, or can also be classified as platform independent. That is, you can use MySQL in Windows, Linux, NetWare, Novell, Solaris, and various versions of Unix. MySQL provides the facility to run the clients and the servers on the same computer. That is, we don't actually have to work with different computers or different clients by using MySQL. We can actually do that with in the same computer using it can be simply done using via internet. MySQL has unique features like it's the storage inside architecture, which is very cheaper, faster, and moreover it is more reliable. That is, we can easily work with MySQL. MySQL gives developers high productivity by using views. That is, views, triggers, and stored procedures. Triggers are a dynamic concept. MySQL allows transactions to be rolled out. That is, when we want to roll back the transactions in MySQL, it can easily be done. MySQL is very flexible as it supports a large number of embedded applications. Now coming to the disadvantages of MySQL. MySQL is not very efficient in handling very large database management system. MySQL doesn't have good developing and debugging tool as compared to the paid database. As MySQL is free open source, it does not have as many features as well as debugging tools like the paid databases, because the paid databases will be provided with the high-end features. MySQL have various versions. That is, like MySQL versions less than 5 do not support commit, stored procedures, and role. That is, the versions of MySQL versions which are less than 5.1 will not support them. Some of the most important functions like commit, stored procedure, these will not be supported in that. MySQL is prone to data consumption as it is insufficient or inefficient in handling transaction. MySQL does not support SQL check constant. It supports from poor performance scaling. That is, the performance scaling in MySQL is not too high. It's just limited. That is, we cannot use it to higher extent. The development is not community driven, so it has some lags and bugs behind. Now coming to why do we choose MySQL over databases? There are various database management systems, but what are the main purpose? What are the main reasons why you use MySQL? Is like someone to the some official statistics which are taken from DB engine as well as Stack Overflow. Now coming to statistics taken from DB engines, MySQL is the second most ranking Rdbms solution in the world. That is, Rdbms is second mostly used Rdbms database management system, which is just next to Oracle. These statistics are done by DB engines. MySQL users are like wide variety of websites and applications, including household brands like Spotify, Netflix, Facebook, Booking.com, like various huge websites use MySQL. And also MySQL, according to a Stack Overflow development survey, which is conducted in the year 2021, MySQL was considered as the most popular database technology by professional developers as well as a beginner. That is, it can easily be identified, developed, designed, and also be distributed. Now coming to the key benefits of MySQL. So why actually MySQL, why people actually prefer to use MySQL is like, MySQL is open source, it's completely free and as well as compatible. It is fast and reliable. The availability, MySQL is available everywhere. Scalability, that is, first of all, if you perform any application using MySQL in small application, you can actually scale them. That is, you can actually increase the limit. That is, you can actually scale the application to larger application. That is, even though you have performed the database on all the operations in a small applications, you can actually scale them to larger applications. So it is application independent. Both small applications as well as large applications can be done using MySQL. And the security, as I already told you, MySQL is like follows Rdbms principles, so which uses multi-layer encryption. So it's the data which is stored in MySQL is completely encrypted, so no worries about it. So and like when your database is corrupt, that is when there are errors or some when your database is get corrupted but your backup is defined, that is MySQL provides you a facility you can actually back up a database. So with this feature we can actually, even though our database is corrupted, as we have already stored it as a backup, stored it as backup, so it is completely fine. So we lose our database, as we have a backup we can actually retrieve the database from the backup. Now coming to some of the interview questions regarding SQL and MySQL. So what is SQL? SQL stands for Structured Queries Language, which is used to access and manipulate the databases. What are some of the most common used MySQL commands? Alter, it is used to alter a database or a table. Create, to create a database. Delete, to delete a row or from a table. Describe is used to describe a table's column. Drop is used to completely drop or delete a database or a table. That is, nothing will remain if you drop a database. Update, update an existing record. Insert, when you want to insert a new data into them, we use the insert command. And the third question is, how do you create a database in MySQL? It is very easy to create a database. Suppose let us say the name of a database is book. So the function we use to create a database is the create database books. So a database with the name books will be created. Create database customer. A database with the name of customers will be created. And fourth question is, how do you insert data into MySQL? We can actually use insert into statement to add new records into MySQL data. Insert into table name, so column 1, column 2, column 3, values, value 1, value 2, value 2. If you want to add values for all the columns, we don't need to specify the column name. That is, we don't need to explicitly specify column 1, column 2, column 3. So we can actually use a simpler version of it, that is insert into table name, values, value 1, value 2, value 3. And fifth question is, how many triggers are possible in MySQL? There are 6 triggers which MySQL allows us to work with. That they are before insert, before update, before delete, after delete. And thank you. Any questions? So please ping.